Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Getting to Know You. Our guest this week is Doug Scott. He is the liturgist at St. Catherine's Church. And I'm getting to know Doug still. I'm excited to be able to interview him today. Doug, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Remind me how long you've been the liturgist at St. Catherine's?
Well, I will just a slight correction and say I'm music director. And so I don't have all of the responsibilities that, for example, Mike Kamensky has at St. Sebastian. But since we are, a smaller music and liturgy program with one mass per week. By the way, this is Frank, and he will be
Hello, Frank.
As part of this, as much of it as he would like to be.
Well, I've got questions for Frank, so no problem.
Okay, all right. We'll save those till a little later. Actually, most of the time since 2000. So I was just figuring this out. That's 22 years I've been music director for about 18 of them, with a couple little breaks in between.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's really has become a it's a lot of stability that perhaps the music program there didn't have before that. We've had some wonderful music directors over the years, though.
Well, I absolutely love the music at St. Catherine's, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. If people, don't know you, besides you're doing music for the last 20 years at St. Catherine's, I know you've got another life too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have been a musician all my life. I was born to a musical family. My parents met in the band, and so I've really stayed in the church basically through church music my life, and my full-time job at this point, and has been for also most of the last 25 years with a couple of breaks, has been working full-time at White House of Music out in Waukesha as a sales and service representative for instruments and accessories and printed music, and pretty much anything having to do with instruments and other services that we sell there. I've got my hands in that, and have been doing that for most of the time, again with a few breaks.
Well, I thank you, because I bought my first trumpet from that White House of Music, and I bought my first electric guitar from that White House.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, we may have crossed paths earlier without knowing it. So.
And I'm still a pretty horrible musician, but I do appreciate it.
Well, the only horrible musician is one who doesn't try. So
I like that. That's good. Yeah. I'm gonna tell my wife that.
Yeah.
You said your parents met in a band?
My parents met in the concert band at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
No kidding. What did they
in
both
the flute section? Yeah, they were both flutists. So I can say I was raised by flutists.
That's not something that a lot of people can say.
Not. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so you've been music your whole life. Do you have a favorite instrument, or what's your?
Well, I grew up. Let's see. I started playing piano, I think, in second or third grade, and then third, I suppose, and then the clarinet in fifth grade. So I've been a wind instrument player since then, and clarinet and low brass instruments and a variety of other things. If you come to any of our special masses at St. Catherine, where our other talented pianist Maylin is with us, then I don't have to play the piano the whole time, and I can play some of my other things. Yeah. But but that's really, I had a strong background in instrumental music and taught band for a couple of years before getting into the music business. And then also I have a strong choral background with having sung with Milwaukee Symphony Chorus as for about 12 or 13 years before I didn't have time to do it anymore. Wow. And then, but I spent many of those years as one of the choral section leaders, and both in the baritone and second tenor sections. So I got a lot of really good choral training through the music directors of that group, Margaret Hawkins and Lee Erickson. And those are names that are well known in our area among choral performers, and they're very influential directors and have had a big influence on me too.
What is it about music that speaks to your soul?
Well, it's just, it's such a big, that's a great question. It feels to me like something I can't do without. It feels like it's such an essential part of my life. And church music and gospel music have been a big part of that too. I mean, I get up in the morning and I put on a couple of up-tempo gospel recordings that on Spotify, just a couple same ones every morning that just get me going and get me inspired. I suppose I could share those with you in the post-production here.
I was gonna say, wait, name one of them for me.
Well, the choral recordings from GIA of the African American Heritage Hymnal and the Lead Me, Guide Me Volume 2, which is the sort of the Catholic version of that we use a lot. They made recordings years ago. James Abington, who's the choral director of the African American section at GIA Publishing, and he puts together groups of singers and musicians, and it's just all wonderful stuff. And there's hours and hours of recordings of some of the songs from those hymnals. And there's one that's a song called "If You Live Right." If you live right, heaven belongs to you. It's one of these things they call a congregational praise song. It's just very repetitive, very up-tempo, piano, organ, bass, and drums, fantastic accompaniment to it. It's just so lively. And I don't know that's anything that we could pull off anytime soon, with the forces that we have at either of our churches. But it's just something that really, really sings to me and lifts my soul, lifts my spirits, and gets me going early in the day. And another one is a song called "Oh, What He's Done for Me." And I never shall forget what He's done for me. It's another one that's really up-tempo. And we have done that several times at St. Catherine. And so songs like that just really pick me up and turn me around, as the words to that song go for one of the verses.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else you want to share about yourself before we kind of get into conversations of faith?
Oh boy. I'm 58 years old. I've been single my whole life. I have been, I've got lots of great, wonderful groups of friends and family who are wonderful support for me. And in the last couple of years, that's been very important for me, as I've gone through a battle with cancer that is going very well at this point. And so a lot of the folks in the communities at both St. Sebastian and St. Catherine have lifted me up and helped me get going and get through what I've been through. And so right now my treatment is going very well, and I'm able to function really 100% with the amount of effort that I need to put in for my job at St. Catherine, and close to it, maybe 75% of the amount of time that I had normally been spending at White House of Music, because I do have medical issues that have to be dealt with at various times, and so I'm a little less than full time at White House just because of that.
But you had an amazing turnaround, didn't you?
It went from a very bleak prognosis for me in November of 2020 to an absolute kind of jolt out of the blue with a test result on the 1st of December of that year that said, hey, maybe we can try this oral medication that we had ruled out before based on the genetic makeup of my cancer. And this test result sort of overrode that and said, let's give this a try. And it had immediate effect. That was December of 2020 was the biggest amount of improvement that I had. I had the biggest amount to make. My body had been full of cancer, and these oral medications called targeted therapy have just done a marvelous job and continue to do so.
That a wonderful blessing. I'm very very happy.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people are very happy and have a lot of
Yeah.
people praying for you. So thank you for sharing that. Well, let's explore faith a little bit. Obviously, you work in church, but what is your faith meant to? What role does faith play in your life?
Well, it has played an amazing role in, especially the last year and a couple of months. But generally, music and faith have gone hand in hand for me, and that the music of the church has kind of been the music of my life in a lot of ways. And as I've become more experienced as a choral music director, the more I explore the scriptures that result in a lot of the great music that is available to us. And I've learned an awful lot. I mean, I did not have a whole lot of book learning on biblical background and before getting into what I do now, but in the last 22 years. And actually, I should say it goes farther back than that, because I had been a volunteer musician at Blessed Trinity Church, which is now part of our congregation at St. Catherine's, well back through most of the 90s. And combination of that plus my background with Milwaukee Symphony Chorus kind of inevitably led to when the position became open at St. Catherine in January of 2000, that the music team there, basically they all thought of me as someone who could fill that void, at least on an interim basis, which is what I did for a period of time. And then a couple of years later, I came back as the music director.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about that. I love going to Mass at St. Catherine's, and I don't know, could you talk a little bit about your approach to liturgical music? You have so many instrumentalists and vocalists and Chris, and it's
yeah. Well, we like to cover our bases. It's great to have a couple of strong lead voices, and Chris and I and Catherine Johnson kind of fill that role as being lead voices that the sort of ensemble kind of organizes around, as well as, when we've got everybody there, we've got 2 keyboards, 2 guitars, viola, horn, and sometimes a soprano instrument if we've got one of our guests on either violin or flute. To me, it's sort of covering the bases musically so that by having all those instruments, so that we don't feel any kind of void with the vocal music, that even if we're not covering all of the parts. So on songs that are, every song that we do has a place, both a place within the sequence of the Mass, as well as a place in putting forth a message. And in many cases, those are messages directly out of the scriptures, and in some cases, they are paraphrases or things that come from ideas that we do want to convey that as part of the Mass. And I would say that having this ensemble of voices and instruments as a real kind of bedrock of the sound that we make. There's sort of a signature sound of the St. Catherine's ensemble. And I really enjoy making music with all of those individual people and with the group as a whole. And we work really well together as a team.
Absolutely.
And you had already interviewed Chris Reck, who is, I always think of her as kind of the mama duck of the St. Catherine's choir, because she's been kind of in that role, both vocally and socially, for many decades. And it's been a pleasure, in particular, working with her as kind of co-leaders of our ensemble. And I think the product that comes out, the joy and the calmness and whatever other emotions come out in particular songs has a lot to do with just the confidence that we have in each other, that Chris and I, and as well as the whole rest of the group, have in each other.
That's clear. I mean, everyone gels together so well, but you and Chris especially, it's like you have like this unspoken connection in your music.
Yeah, and often it's an unrehearsed connection too. So yeah, like for example, there are several of the psalms that we do that involve a gospel style refrain and a chanted Gelano style verses that have that I'll sing a melody and I'll write out an alto harmony part for her, and we practice it a couple of times before Mass, and we sing it, and we do really, our voices blend together quite nicely, and sometimes we've got to compare notes very quickly before a song starts as to who's singing the melody and who is singing a harmony part that in many cases is not written, but comes to us naturally. And
you guys make it look seamless, and I know it's not always. So it's
yeah. Well, and especially in COVID times here, we have not had any official choir practices in the evenings. That's just not been part of our routine during the nearly 2 years of COVID, and we've needed to talk through some things ahead of time for sure. But without having that rehearsal time, it's sometimes a bit of a scramble to get things together on a Sunday morning before church. But it all comes together, and almost everything comes off really well.
No, I definitely think it's beautiful. It really does. It helps me connect to the Spirit listening to you guys. So thank you.
Thank you.
My last question for you, Doug, and it's a last question I ask everybody, but that is, as you look to the future, what do you hope for? Well, I hope for a continued health, both in the obvious sense of health and in of our congregation, of both the St. Catherine and St. Sebastian congregations. We're up against a little bit more at St. Catherine, just with the demographics of our neighborhood and the challenge of keeping a small congregation stable and growing a little bit. And I think that we are doing that. We have really stabilized the migrations out of our neighborhood that carried with them a lot of our congregation. Seem to have happened now many years ago. And generally speaking, we've got a very dedicated, very socially conscious, social justice oriented congregation that we're basically all on the same page, and our leadership from our priests over the years has certainly contributed to that. Father Jack Kern lent a great deal of stability to our congregation. He was our pastor from 2004 to 2014. And a lot of what we do liturgically and with our social programs really have a lot to do with the moral leadership that he brought to us, and obviously with Father Larry and Father Peter Patrick. Since then, that tradition has continued, and we've had great leadership from the top that allows us basically to do what we do. At least in my music ministry, has had little to no interference, I would say, or anything heavy-handed in the way of guidance away from anything that we generally do. And as we kind of brought up here, the gospel music has been the development of our ensemble in that direction has been a constant thing, a constant development over the last couple decades. And there is still a kind of canon of suburban Catholic music that is also still a kind of a foundation of our repertoire as well. And I think that
the mix that we do of different styles of music within the same mass. I mean, we're not trying to put together an all gospel mass or an all Marty Haugen and Dan Schutte kind of suburban Catholic mass at any one time. We are always looking for a mix of things that basically that fit the scriptures of the day, and there's always multiple options of things that we can look at to fit the whether it's the psalm setting or certain songs that are going to go along with, like for example, we recently had the baptism of the Lord, and there was a lot of great music from both the well, and I'd say the suburban and the urban traditions, as well as we have two major publishers that we work with that also give me options in each case to present music that fits the occasion and also fits our abilities. And we've gotten away from the sort of classical style 4-part choral music really out of necessity, especially during COVID times, because there aren't 4 parts to sing and there aren't evening rehearsals to make that all happen. So the kind of mix of music that comes naturally to us has worked out well in this sort of COVID ensemble times, let's say.
Yeah.
Looking to the future, I look forward to a time where we are able to all sing unmasked, because at this point we are having one cantor who faces the congregation be unmasked. I also face away from them, and so Chris and I sing in ensemble a lot together, and need to see each other sing. So,
yes.
But as far as the future goes, this year is the 100th anniversary year of St. Catherine Parish.
Right.
And we are planning a concert a couple of weeks before our grand anniversary celebration Mass. That Mass will be on November 20th, which is a Sunday, of course. And then the Friday, 2 weeks before that, November 4th, we are planning an evening concert. The content of which is really to be determined a lot by what is safe to do at that point. But there's a lot of our favorite repertoire over the years that will certainly show up in that concert, as well as perhaps a couple of new and ambitious choral songs that and hopefully involving several members from the St. Sebastian choir as well, if health conditions allow it, and I'm hoping to really put together a nice big ensemble and pull something off. It might not be that large scale. It might end up being a half hour of some of our favorite songs without having the time to put in on anything large and ambitious, just based on wherever the virus takes us between now and then.
Right. Well, my hope is that you can see this concert to your, the vision that you have.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope we're we're getting through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doug, thank you for the musical inspiration that you provide to the community of St. Catherine's. It's life-giving, it's uplifting, it's inspirational, and I know that it takes way more work than anybody knows that you actually put into it. So thank you for that dedication, and I look forward to those centennial events. That's going to be fantastic. Mark your calendars. Right?
Yes, indeed.
November 20th is the big Mass, and when is the concert?
Friday evening, November 4th.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, thank you so much. It was really nice to talk to you today.
Yes, you too. Thank you for the opportunity and the opportunity to just kind of talk through some of these things that I haven't thought of or thought about much. but also the opportunity to meet some of the folks, especially at St. Sebastian, who might not be as familiar with what we do. And everybody's welcome to come over to 9 o'clock Mass if your schedule allows it, and take in our music ministry as well as the rest of our ministries there at St. Catherine.
Thank you for that invitation, and that is the goal: getting to know each other. So hopefully we are living in that spirit. So thank you so much, Doug. Continued blessings on your journey.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.